Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Brittany Ogden, partner at Quarles and Brady. Thanks for joining me, Brittany.
Well, thank you for having me. Good morning.
No, I want to say our first introduction might have been the first time that you went to an equipment finance event. I think it was at a new member reception. I don't know if it was Phoenix or maybe somewhere in California,
Oh,
but I think that's
wow.
where I met you for the first time.
That's a really great recollection because I have been a member of Alpha, which it was previously the ELA,
Yeah.
prior to ELFA for, gosh, almost 20 years.
Hmm.
It was one of the very first organizations I joined. That's
Well,
neat.
then obviously my recollection was wrong, but that's where I first met you, because it wasn't 20 years ago that I first met you, because I've only been in the industry for 18 years. So way to jack that up, Jesse. But regardless,
No,
that's where I
maybe
first met you,
maybe
one of
I'm
these.
wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
You are not wrong by that many years, I can tell you that. But for the people that might not know you, Brittany, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and your career since you, I guess, joined the leasing association?
Sure. So I have been a member of the ELFA, otherwise known as the ELA, for almost 20 years. The majority of my practice is commercial litigation and bankruptcy creditors' rights. I am the co-chair of our national practice group at Quarles and Brady. And my practice has involved equipment finance leasing for, gosh, the entirety of my career. I sort of fell into it. Um, which I don't think anybody starts out wanting to be, or
If there's commonalities with all of these, it's, I want to say 99. I think one person said, "Oh yeah, I went to school." I'm like, "You did not. Get out of
no,
here.
no one
Come
did,
on,
no one
come
did, and
on."
I didn't go to school thinking I would do bankruptcy either. I knew I liked when I went to law school, I knew I liked litigation. I knew I was not destined to be a transactional attorney and sit at a computer and type all day. It's not who I am or bred to be. So but I had a really great mentor who told me that I should really understand bankruptcy work, because when the economy goes down, that type of
Mm.
work and demand goes up, and it would balance out my commercial litigation background. And then that firm that I was clerking for when I was in law school, I went to law school in upstate New York. They were doing a lot of work for an equipment finance company. And so they encouraged me to work on those files. And then I ended up meeting one of the executives at that company, and it was a woman, and she became my mentor. And she
Oh,
is someone, and I don't know if you were at the annual convention when you heard my speech, but she was the mentor that said, "I really think you should join this organization. I think it would be really helpful for you to understand and get to know people in the industry and understand industry knowledge." And she was just so brilliant. And I was just so grateful for any advice she gave me that I said, okay. And so I joined the organization and started attending the legal forums, and then built on from there. And so that's sort of my genesis of the work I do. Equipment finances work is probably a lot of my practice, but
yeah.
I do quite a bit of litigation, jury trials, complex cases as well.
Did you have any second guesses when you went to your first conference or convention and you said these people are a bunch of crazy people? Are you sending me down the right path here?
That's a really great question. It was just the opposite. I mean, I love the organization and the people I've met in this industry. I thoroughly enjoy the clients. I thoroughly enjoy my other colleagues, the other lawyers from other law firms.
Sure.
Some of the over 20 years, they've become some of my favorite people in the world, and I look forward to seeing them. But I will tell you, when I first started joining and attending these conferences, it was horrible because I knew no one at
Mm.
all, and people were going to dinners, and of course I didn't know that there were these dinners. I wasn't invited to the dinners, and so I think I am a good conversationalist, but I was really
Sure.
struggling. And so I would make a promise to myself that I would go to this conference and I would meet three people. And
Okay.
if I talked and met three people, then my job was done for the day. And I would, try to, if it was in a city that I had friends or other acquaintances in, then I would go and, do something with them.
Sure.
But that was my start of attending these conferences, is I just have to meet three people. And then I would be very diligent and take notes on who I met, so that when I would go to the next conference, I would look to see if maybe they were there and would they be my friend? And and so I just sort of built from there
Yeah,
on
yeah,
meeting
yeah.
other people. And so that's why when I'm at a conference or a cocktail party, I kind of look for the person that looks like they have no one to talk to, because I have been there. And so if I am the crazy person now that goes up and just randomly starts talking to someone, that's because I know what it's like.
That's perfectly fair. And now the only challenge is it's like when you and I see each other at a conference, we say hi, maybe talk for 30 seconds, and then we're distracted because somebody else is coming up, and
Yes.
it's like you never get that time anymore. And you're like, I wish I could only find three people to talk to.
I know. It is. It's like the opposite end of the spectrum, really, where I had no one I know. And now I feel as though when I go to these conferences and I don't have the chance to have any detailed conversation with anybody, because and that's a great thing. That is a sign
Sure,
of
sure.
I mean, that's just a wonderful organization, right? That means that you have a beautiful network of people, and you're excited and new people to meet. That it's a wonderful way to spend your time professionally and
Mhm.
personally. And it's a good problem for us to have. It's a good problem to only have a few minutes here and there. So good thing we
No,
have today.
no, and I completely agree. And I want to touch on something that you mentioned. Even the other attorneys that theoretically they're competitors, right? Because they do similar things at their firms that you do there, but they're your good friends because at the end of the day, there's enough to go around, and people might specialize in certain things, and referrals come back and forth. And that's one thing that I've always appreciated about this industry.
Oh yeah. I think, well, a couple of things. One, I'm pretty fortunate in that I'm from Wisconsin. And so there isn't an overload of attorneys from Wisconsin that are involved in the ELFA, number one. But also, the attorneys that I have met through ELFA, I trust and that they understand the industry as well. So attorneys are wonderful referral sources amongst each other. And I think I
Sure.
had three different calls yesterday with different ELFA attorneys, just because I was referring a matter to somebody. I was talking with a client, in-house client, and then another ELFA member called me about looking for some assistance in the Midwest. So it was, it just, yes, they are certainly my competitors, but I don't view it as that. I see it as opportunity amongst us and not just
Sure.
competition. And I think in some of our cases, particularly in the bankruptcy world, you are oftentimes, there's only a certain pool of money that is available. And you really have to work out deals. And it's really nice to be in an industry and practicing when you do know the other lawyers on the other side of the table. You can address issues with them. And of course, if you go to trial with them, you go to trial with them. But it's nice to have people that you enjoy. It's nice to go to work and you're working with people you enjoy, and whether that be your client or opposing counsel with people you work with. And that's something that's of value that I've gained through the organization.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, right? If you actually the deals that actually make it, those things that make it the trial, where you're sitting across and there's one of the other people from the industry, be like, wait, what's going on here? I mean, if there was something where maybe I would be lob that tidbit, throw it my way, because maybe I'll just sit in the, behind you guys and start heckling or
I don't
chanting.
think I don't think I've had anything where we've been like completely opposed to each other, but maybe we're representing similar people all in one case and you're collaborating.
No, I
I
just
think
think it would be.
it's
I think it'd be entertaining just to be in the, in the courtroom, just being
it
like,
probably
oh yeah, no,
would.
no,
Good
no.
one. Yeah, yeah, that would be fun.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. So, from a practice perspective, are you nationwide or are you just focused on the Midwest?
I am nationwide, and that's an
Okay.
interesting question because although I'm located in Wisconsin and I do quite a few cases in Wisconsin state court and Wisconsin's federal court,
Okay.
um, a lot of my practice is all over the country. So I have a number of cases that are on the East Coast, in Philadelphia, in Delaware. I just finished a 2-month federal jury trial in California.
Oof.
So, and then we have cases in, we have offices, we have 10 different offices. So
Okay.
I have cases in a lot of our different locations: Arizona, Florida, Indiana. We're in the Midwest, we're on the West Coast, East Coast. But it's also just because of federal court, it can take us to almost any jurisdiction. So, and I love that about my job. I love the fact that I live in Wisconsin and I have this really great law firm that I work for, but it provides me these opportunities to go to lots of different cities and jurisdictions and represent my clients. We have many national clients that we are their lead counsel, and we use local counsel, but we show up and we handle the court appearances in a variety of jurisdictions.
And I conveniently like to travel from November through the end of March to
Yes,
warmer
I am
destinations.
always happy if someone wants me to visit them in Florida or Arizona or California. It doesn't
I'm
always work that way in the
no,
winter.
I mean, what was amazing is I'm from upstate New York, as you know as well, and when I moved out to Arizona in 2010, I would never find myself, going to. I mean, you live in Arizona, right? There's reasons why people live here. I would always find myself in Buffalo or Minnesota in like January, and I'm like
Oh,
starting to question, like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah.
come on.
Yeah, that's a
That
terrible choice. It takes something that people don't think about is when you have to travel to like those states with all of the snow and the cold weather.
Mhm.
I don't mind the cold. I don't mind the snow, but from like an air travel standpoint, it takes up a
Mm,
lot of time because you're sitting on the
mhm.
plane for the de-icing, and then you have lake effect if you're in like Buffalo. I really have a rule that I really try to avoid all of those lake effect states because they that will slow you down and disrupt your travel. And we know how the travel industry is really
Mm.
disrupted as of late anyway. So it's look, I'm fine with it being cold. I can take it. I don't mind the snow. It's just the inconveniences and disruption that really is frustrating. So yeah, I would much
Well,
prefer to go somewhere warm in the winter months.
yeah, someone actually mentioned they're doing some charity event up in Canada, and I'm like, oh, that'd be fun to go to. When is it? February? What? Where? Winnipeg? Oh,
That's kind of a tough sell.
no.
Although although it is on a bucket list, I would like to go to Montreal in the winter or some of those ice hotels. I've always thought that would be kind of cool. Like if you're gonna go big, if you're gonna do winter, go big. Do something that's really cold and really neat, other than where you're always at in the winter months. But I mean,
But
it
what
might
about what about
be
what about that? Isn't there a spa in Iceland or Greenland that's like in this like hot springs where it's like snow all around you, but you can actually be in this warm thing? Like that seems
yeah, I'll take that. You're speaking my love language right there. I'll take that.
that seems my speed there because it's
Yeah,
the whole where I want to go in one of those houses. I would love to spend the night in one of them, but
yeah.
are you really going to have an open fire in one of those? That's what kind of freaks me out when you see that. You're like, hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
know. I get like, well, it's gonna melt down my room for the night. But I've watched the James Bond movie where they have it, and they can handle an entire gunfight and nothing happens. So I assume a little bit of warm fire. I don't know
and,
what
and
they do for heating there.
and that guy's never died, so whatever. I mean,
Right. I am sure that someone finances. There's an equipment finance issue in one of these locations that would require us to go and look at that. Don't you think?
I think that's a beautiful on-site.
Something
I
worth
think that's and that's another unique thing about this industry. I was talking with someone the other day. They're like, "Oh yeah, we're working on this deal in Augusta," and I'm like, "Really?
Oh.
Like, how many site visits a year are you going to do for that?"
I love it. I love it.
So you're nationwide. We could probably go down many rabbit holes with these disclosures that are lovely and popping up. Um, how often do you find yourself retraining or educating and staying on top of all these things? Because I don't want to say, what is it, New York, New Jersey, and California are the first three, and then there's like another 15 states that are on the docket, and then okay, what's going to happen after that? Like, how are you staying on top of everything, Brittany?
Well, Jesse, that's a really fair question. And it's why I do really appreciate being a member of Alpha. I am constantly paying attention to the publications, going to the conferences, and quite honestly, talking to my colleagues, whether
Okay.
they're in-house and not just lawyers, talking to those that are in the industry who are dealing it from a perspective, those from a legal perspective. I want to be a sponge and eat up as much as possible, and then certainly rely on my colleagues who are paying attention to things. It's also it's another reason why I was willing to join. Alpha has a subcommittee that
Okay.
addresses the legal updates in the legal committee, and then we also have another subcommittee that handles amicus briefs, and then we have another subcommittee that is handling staying on top of the legal resources for Alpha members. And I consciously want to be part of those subcommittees because it's a yet another way to stay in front of the curve, or at least be
Sure.
seeing what's coming down the pipe, and being aware of what's happening. So it is a challenge, but you have a baseline, and then you just keep adjusting from there, as the information flows in.
Yeah, and some of the information is clear as mud sometimes
Right.
when it comes
Oh,
to
we
some of
wouldn't
these
have a
things.
job. Lawyers wouldn't have a
It's
job if
like,
it was all easy and clear.
let's talk 1071, shall we? And be like, well, how much time you got? Here's my rate.
Exactly.
Uh, that's fantastic. So 20 years. So 2002 was when you got in. One of the things I wanted to talk about was I got in 2005, and I've seen a huge shift and almost like the DEI component of equipment finance, specifically when it comes to women in the industry. I don't know. I've only been to one credit and collections conference, and I've never been to a legal forum. I know those are the two alpha events where the majority of attorneys go, besides the annual, but you know what I mean. What are your thoughts on kind of the diversity that we're starting to get, or that we have been getting, and where do you see us going from that standpoint, Brittany?
Well, I think the ELFA has really embraced it in comparison to a lot of organizations that I'm a member of. I am very happy to see that they take it seriously. I think part of it is driven by our clients and the members. Uh, a number of our members are very conscious about diversity, and making sure that the lawyers that they use are diverse. And I think it's very good that the organization is paying attention to that. It's a driver,
Sure.
and we are our organization, my firm, is reviewed based on how it is handling diversity. And I think that anytime an organization embraces it is a great thing. I think the ELFA is getting it right compared to a lot of organizations. Is it perfect? Obviously not. Are there other ways that things could be enhanced or better?
Sure. Sure.
Sure. But when I sit back and I attend ELFA events, and then I attend other organizations, I'm always so pleasantly happy. I shouldn't say surprised, but proud that there is an effort. And something that I have constantly said, and amongst my colleagues that are females, is that, look, diversity isn't the problem of those that are diverse. It is an issue for everybody to address and embrace, and want to have thinking of something and developing a plan or an issue is so much better when you look at it as a prism and there are a bazillion different angles, right? Rather than just like a tunnel vision. Every time you have more people at the table and thinking about an issue, the more collection of thought you have, the better outcome you'll gain. And I think that is
Hmm.
amazing that the ELFA addresses that. Also, it's important in my opinion, and I think this is really critical, that those that aren't diverse also embrace it, to address the issues and call things out, and
Sure.
not rely on those that are diverse to bring it to their attention. The greatest partners that I have seen in this, in the addressing of diversity, is that it's people who look like everybody else, who say, hey, this isn't right. Hey, what about this? Hey, what about, because that is what makes a difference. That is when you have champions speaking on behalf of the issues and are leading by example, and not putting it all on the shoulders of those that are diverse, who are just trying to get some momentum as well. Um, all that being said, I think the ELFA and the members do a really wonderful job of trying to do that.
No, and you brought up several good points there. And, at the end of the day, diversity can be uncomfortable, right? I mean, because let's face it, if you surround yourself with like-minded people, like, are you no who's going to question whatever else because you're all thinking the same thing? But
Right.
I mean, it's not the right way. I mean, the numbers and the stats and everything, when you have a more diverse board, diverse management team, diverse workforce, it's different ideas. And those ideas can be uncomfortable, but they're different ideas.
Right. I think lawyers by nature and training are so used to hearing criticism. We have to be critical of thought. We have to be critical of a situation. We
Yeah.
have lots of difficult conversations. You have to point out the things that your client doesn't want to hear, but I would be negligent in my job if I didn't. And I think lawyers are better, and other people in the industry, I'm sure, are too, but we are very receptive to critical thought. For me, I would much rather hear the criticism from my colleague rather than showing up in court and submitting some sort of brief that is ripped apart by your opposing counsel or the judge. You want all of those angles. You don't want an echo chamber. You want all of that
Good
critical
point.
thinking, right? And so to me, that is what diversity does. It just brings more people to the table. I just read a really wonderful article on LinkedIn. I posted it and it was really crazy because I was at a different conference. I was at an agricultural law conference and I ran into some women and they had all read this exact same article and we had never met before, but we had shared this article at the same
Okay.
time. It was crazy. Um, but it was talking about leadership and whether or not when you get to the table, the traditional approach was, well, be happy that you're at the table, just smile and nod and be happy that you're at the table. And that is a thing of the past. And the
Yeah,
idea
I
is
feel
you
like it's
want,
like, no.
no, you want people to talk. You're not just at the table as a showcase, you were at a table
Yeah.
to provide thought. Whether or not that is thought that people aren't as excited to hear, that's
Mm.
okay. If you say it in a professional way, in a
Yeah.
tactful way, it's important to be heard. And it's important that your colleagues turn to you and ask you for that opinion so that you do get the diversity of thought. So my opinion is smile if you want, don't smile, but don't be shy about speaking up your opinion and your mindset. And I am going to be right there to support somebody who does. And whether or not you agree or disagree with their
Yeah.
point, it just provides a better collective thought.
No, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, if you're gonna be at the table, you might as well do something with it, right?
Right.
But I know there was some stats where it's like, I want to say, what was it? If someone answers a question, if someone asks you a question and you don't know the answer, but you're just gonna BS something that you think is right, men will do that 70% of the time, and I think women are only like 20%. Maybe there's a little skewed there with those numbers. I'm sure someone will look it up who's watching this and be like, "You're full of crap," and send me a negative message, but whatever.
Uh, I hope people aren't fact checking everything because I'm still pondering. Well, was it 20 years ago? Was it 21? I don't know for sure. It's around that. So
You,
generally speaking, I agree with you, Jesse. I do notice that by nature, males are better at uh
you
pitching
just
for
say B.
themselves.
You say BS. BS is
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. And here's why I've learned this is I live with all boys and I'm raising boys and they're
Okay.
just so confident. I mean, when I ask them what they want to do when they grow up, it's, well, I'm going to be an NFL player. And if that doesn't work out, well, then I'll be in the MLB. Oh, okay. But the
Shoot
confidence
high.
and I think women are also very confident, but sometimes that gets a little squelched or it comes across as though they're being conceited or self-serving. And I think it's really important to own it and be confident in yourself
Sure.
and also I think it's really important to admit when you don't know something and to admit when you're wrong and admit, hey, I don't know that, because that's when you have the opportunity to learn more. And that was a resolution I made, gosh, years ago, is I was going to say, if I don't know that, I'm going to ask, because I'd much rather sound dumb about not knowing it than sound dumb about talking about something I don't know.
Spot
So
on.
there,
I mean, there's still certain things where it's like I've been in the industry for 18 years and there's certain questions where it's like, I'm not going to say anything because I probably should know that, but I'm just going to not.
Yeah, sit back and listen. Well, I mean, and that's the beautiful thing is that I do think we are in an organization that people are happy to discuss it with you. And I
Yeah.
have grown relationships over the years where I can pick up the phone and say, hey, I don't think I understand this issue. Can you explain it to me? And they would be more than happy to do so. And likewise, that happens to me where I have had people do so, and I hope they feel comfortable to call me and say, "Hey, I'm not really following this. What is the story on that?" And I would be more than happy to, and no judgment, just fill them in. Or I might just say, "I don't know either. So glad to know you don't know that answer."
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm gonna pivot a little bit here to the recent award that you just got. Was it the Michael Fleming Distinguished Service Award? Did I say that
Oh,
correctly?
yeah,
Okay.
I hope so.
Let's
If they're
con, con,
fact
con-
checking us, we could be in trouble
okay.
again.
Congratulations on that. I mean, obviously they only select one person in the industry of several thousand people. So I was ecstatic when I saw that you were receiving that, and congratulations again, and loved your speech, and it's definitely well deserving, Brittany.
Well, thank you. I was just so surprised and overwhelmed when I found out I received that award. And then just the overwhelming kindness that I received at at the reception. And when it was it was very stressful to go before thousands of people and have to give that speech. And I didn't feel, everybody did work so hard and everybody in our industry contributes so much. And I really truly believe like I'm the lucky one that received this award this year. But I'm just really lucky that I'm with so many wonderful people and have this opportunity to do things and to be part of a great organization of people. It was just really you hate to say it, it was really an honor because that just sounds it minimizes it because it was just a huge compliment, and I hope I can pay it forward to those in the future. And thank you for saying you were ecstatic. That I mean I received so many kind words like that, and that's overwhelming because that means I just am surrounded by just such tremendous people in this industry.
No, no, absolutely. And I think it's one of those like nerve-wracking things to have to give up there. I mean, I see a bunch of my friends, who are on the board, or even some of the people who are like the chair people of the ELFA, and they get up there and you're on this stage in front of all your colleagues and you're just like, ah.
I think that is fair. I do jury trials and I go to court and I talk in front of people all the time. But that's different because I know exactly, you don't always know exactly what you're going to say in a crazy cross examination, but
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
really know the
You
jurors.
have an idea. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I have a game plan, and that's my job. I'm trained to do that. It's a little bit more challenging when you are in front of all of these people that you just admire and respect. And that is when that's when my palms start to sweat a little bit more, is
I,
because
I have
I
this thing.
would
I have this thing with
down.
I have this thing with my legs where they won't stop moving, and I'm like, "Will you just stand still? Come on, it's not that big of a deal, dude." But
That's funny you should say that, Jesse, because when I first started practicing law, my knees would like move. And so I
yeah,
really, and it was just an automatic uh, reaction. And
yeah.
how do you fight that? So especially as a female, because if you wear skirts. So I always realized I had to wear a skirt that was like close to my knees so that if they started to move, or I would have to wear black tights so you wouldn't see the nervousness.
Interesting.
I don't get that as often anymore. So
Okay.
I've moved past the knee jerking.
I always thought there was something wrong with me. I was like, "What is going on here?" Then I read it was like I don't know, it's something with your system. It's just kicking in. It's like your
Yeah,
adrenaline is so going, and you're
exactly.
just like, "All right, well, can I shut my adrenaline off for like 5 minutes so I can get through this, please?"
You gotta find your zen. You just gotta like I always think of it as like acting. You just have to assume a new persona. And I'm just going,
Sure.
as scared as I might be, I'm just going to act like I'm not, and then work your way through it.
It's fair. That's fair. I always thought that maybe if you had a glass of wine or something that would calm you down, but that does the complete opposite. It actually like
Oh,
enhances everything. I didn't realize that. It's like
uh-huh.
that's great.
Plus that's sort of a challenge if you're doing something at like 8 in the morning. maybe. But yeah, I think I will just take my chances of like acting like I'm not bothered.
Perfectly fine. That's good. Well, excellent. So, you know, wrapping up here, like a little fun fact about yourself, if you don't mind.
You know, I don't know. I have lots of facts about me, but I don't know if they're necessarily fun. I
Of course they are.
so I was just watching one of your other interviews and you were talking about your agricultural background. And I'm like, well, my fun, unique one is that I too grew up on a farm. I grew up on a dairy farm and I know how to milk cows. I now, yeah, I can milk a cow with the best of them. I did it for,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But I now live on a beef cattle farm. So I live on 500 acres in Southwest Wisconsin.
Oh,
And we have, Hereford and Angus cattle. But, is that fun? No, and it's not really reflective of me. I mean, I love to run. I've run a marathon. I love the Peloton. Um, but, you
are,
know,
are, are we friends on the Peloton?
I don't think we are, but maybe we should be. Who's your favorite person to work out with on the Peloton? I bet you can
Um,
figure out mine in like a heartbeat, but
it was probably Jessica for a while,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then it was uh you know what? I've been a bad Peloton rider.
Obviously.
It's been like 3 weeks. So I don't even know what's yeah, I'm
Well,
having a
I
big
will
old brain lapse
I
right
will
now.
tell you that I pick my workouts oftentimes based on my mood
Okay.
and what kind of music I'm interested in or what kind of workout I want to do. So, I love some of the endurance training if I've got a lot of time and I can just sit and do it. But I love 80s and 90s music. So sometimes I
Okay.
pick those. But of course I love Ally Love and Cody. I just think that they're fun and vibrant. But I also am a late night workout person. I think that's
Mm.
when I'm done with my work for the day. The guilt has set in. It's quiet. No, everybody has finally gone to bed. So I might hop on my Peloton at like 10 o'clock at night. And it's a sad, sad situation, but I like it because I can work
No,
out and it gives me some energy. And then I go back and I might finish up some things and then I go to bed nice and tired.
so what is your average, like, are you like the 10 minute, 20 minute, 30 minute, 45? Like, what do
Oh,
you do at 10 o'clock at night? Like, because the only issue that I have is when I do those workouts, I don't listen to what they tell me to do.
oh,
I just
really?
I do interval training. I'm either at 100 or I'm at 50, and I just do
Wow.
2 minutes on and 1 minute off and just go. I don't know, if I'm gonna do something, I like have to do it.
Yeah, no, I rarely do the 20-minute. If I do, I do 2 20 minutes. Sometimes I do the 20-minute based on the music selection. So I love
That's
country
awesome.
music, but I also like hip hop. So sometimes I might mix it up with like the two different kinds. I would say I'm normally half an hour to an hour, depending on how much time I have. And then I
Okay,
usually try to do something that has like an arm workout as part of it. But I haven't been doing the Peloton as much. I'll be doing it much more now that winter is coming upon us. And
sure.
so I sort of taper off and I do a lot more running outside in the summer and fall and
Okay.
spring. And then I do spin classes. My office is in Madison, but I live an hour away from Madison, Wisconsin. So
Okay.
I do a lot of spin classes near my office and I go for a run downtown.
Okay.
And then I do the workouts here. So we'll see.
See,
Catch me.
I have a competitive issue where it's like I think the arm where it says, "Oh, an arm workout," that's a way for me to gain ground on the people in front of me that are doing the arm workout. So, like I have
You're that guy. You're
I'm
that guy, huh?
I'm that guy, and it's like I don't know. Have you ever used the camera feature where you can like chat with people like on your friends list? You can actually ride with them and see their
I
face.
I have not. I have not. I guess
Could be
I
a little
should.
uncomfortable. I mean, no. You didn't never want to see this because this is just a big sweaty mess for like 45 minutes. Like a 45 minute. Like I have a thing where I need to burn, what is it, 100 calories per 5 minutes.
Oh
That's
wow.
my that's my
You're
like
killing it.
bar that I set. So
Mhm.
anyhow, this isn't about me. It's about you. It's just more of I'm just a crazy person on there because it's like,
Oh,
let's
I
go.
love it. I think it just depends on my energy level and my mood. I mean, I'm there because I want to be healthy and I like working out and I need to burn whatever calories came in for the day. But, usually it's sort of for me, working out is where I find my peace and my
Mm,
ability to relax. I love the runner's high that you can get when you get like 4 miles under your belt and you just can kind of clip along. It's to me where when I work out, it lets my brain relax and then I can come back and think about whatever project I'm working on. And then I come back with I would say a much clearer mind. And
mm.
so my workouts are for that. And I just focus on the lifting of the weights because my whole goal is to tone my arms, not compete with whoever is on the board there.
I, I see someone in front of me. I have to try to jump them.
Well, maybe
So
you and I should definitely be friends on it so that you can crush it against me. You can be like, I
no,
kicked Brittany's ass
I'm
today.
like, come on, yeah, just don't. I'm not going to turn on my camera ever though, because you'd be like, dude, come on, help me out here.
I do like the
Um,
idea of being able to talk to somebody while I'm working out. I love when you're running and you can talk with someone. So I'm all for it. I'll give it a whirl.
all right, I'll have to make sure I look you up on there.
Okay.
And then I mean, living on a farm, I mean, that's a workout in itself.
Yes, it is definitely a workout if the cattle get out and you have to chase them. If you are baling hay, not very many
Mm,
people do square bales anymore, but sometimes we do because there's a market for people. A lot of people with horses want that. So I have been known to, you know, unload hay to go in the hay mow or drive the pickup truck for whatever needs to be done. I will say I'm much enjoying the fact that my boys are getting older and
okay.
they handle some of those projects. It doesn't really follow me. I've got my own world of projects to work on, but I do get out there and I have to help here and there.
Yeah, we have a small zoo here, so it's like, on a Saturday, I find myself getting up at 5 to do my walk, to do my workout, and then all of a sudden it's like 5 o'clock at night after I get through everything, and I'm like, where did this day go? Like, what am I doing?
People ask me what I did over the weekend, and I always say everything and nothing. It's like I have weekend amnesia. I don't know. We've gone to kids' sports tournaments, wrestling tournaments. There's been things that have happened, work, and then I don't know, laundry, you know.
Right? So, what do you get time for yourself?
Uh, Honestly, I think my favorite time to myself is when I'm on a plane, especially
That was
if
what I
the
was gonna
internet
say.
doesn't work. If the internet doesn't work, it's amazing because then you're just left with whatever work you brought with you that is either saved
Sure.
on your laptop or I might just have to watch a point or take a nap. I think that's probably when I have the most time to myself, or, when I go to a conference. And that's really where I'm able to just spend time with other people who are just as busy. But I don't know if I really have that much time to myself, Jesse. But that's the nature of the beast. And that's like the age I am and where my kids are and my career is. It's not always going to be about
So,
me.
one of my creatures just jumped up here, so I'll have to introduce you to her.
Oh, beautiful. I love cats. I love it. I had to shut my door so that our cat would, or we have a couple of cats and they come in and out. And I had to shut my office door. So I did not have any guest appearances today, but I
Yeah.
might have a rooster. I'm really happy that the roosters that are roam around free range on our land have not shown up. And fun fact, I don't know if you can see it, but maybe not. I hope not. But fun fact, there is a manure spreader full of wood that needs to be unloaded and stacked this weekend. And so that's just right outside the window there too. I, I,
And it's obviously really nice and warm up there right now, so
it
that's a
is not
great time to
today.
unload it.
I know I think it's
Mhm.
going to be a high in the 20s today and it's snowing, but I don't have to drive anywhere or go anywhere. So
Some people know this about me. During COVID, you get these COVID hobbies, right?
mhm.
So Brooke and I have these issues when it comes to animals. So we're like, maybe we'll get some chickens. So we went on eBay, and she likes furry things. So she got like these silky chickens,
Oh, those are neat looking.
and we put them in the incubator, and I think out of the 12 eggs, 6 hatched, and then they got to go. And then I'm like looking at their egg production because it's like I don't need another pet. Like give me the eggs. And they laid like what 60 eggs a year, and I'm like these things are
Oh,
useless. Like that's not enough. They're
well,
fancy. Like
yeah.
so like me, maybe I had a couple glasses of wine and
Did you order more?
I went online to Tractor Supply, and yeah, 2 days later, like 12 of these Buff Orpington chickens showed up, and Brooke's like, I'm like, by the way, I just, more than doubled our flock. And she's like, what are you talking about? And sure enough, you go to the post office, and it's the funniest thing. You can
Yeah,
go online, and you can order chickens, and they show up in like 2 days. And it's like, what?
well, we always let our post lady know we've incubated our own chickens. So we have we
Mhm.
had, oh my gosh, I think we had like 30 or 40 chickens at one point. The coyotes ended up taking out some of them, which I was not upset about, quite honestly, because we needed to cull the population. Um, During COVID, my boys raised meat birds. So we had over 100 meat birds, which was a really great idea. People were very excited to have them so that they could buy
Yeah,
the meat. But there was a
yeah.
challenge of processing what places would be open to process it. And I was having a heart attack because I thought, oh my gosh,
No,
I
you just go onto Amazon, you have the chicken plucker, you throw it in this barrel, and I'm
yeah,
like,
I
people
don't
are like,
want to
why
do
don't you
100
do
meat
that?
birds. No,
I'm like, nah.
no.
And the meat birds, like, they become fully mature in what, like 3 months, those white
Yeah, it was
things, and
very
you're just
fast.
like, what
Yes,
is
very
like
fast.
what is this? And like, why
I
don't you
know.
eat your own? I'm like, it's more of a pet, like
Yeah,
it's more of a hobby, like
they're fun to
plucking a
watch.
chicken. Like,
Yeah,
no. I'm like, no,
yeah,
no,
they are. I call it chicken
no.
TV because chickens are
No.
extraordinarily fun to watch.
And it's a
And
great compost pile. So all of our leftovers we just
oh
take
yeah,
out
eat
there, and you throw
anything.
them in there, and they run around, and they
They're little.
savages.
They're little dinosaurs. I mean, that's where the dinosaurs stem from. I mean, they stem from the dinosaurs, right? If you and the evolution, which is crazy. But yeah, we I'm amazed at what chickens like. Did you know chickens love mice? And they will eat mice and catch mice.
I did not know that. I know scorpions out here are big, so we have a couple free roamers. The majority of them are in, because we're in a neighborhood where
Can't
hopefully
do
no one in our neighborhood watching this. We're not supposed to have them,
that.
so we
They're
have them
secret
tucked in the
safety thing.
back. But like in our garage, we get spiders, and I have a female chicken. I thought it was a male because since it was a baby, it would jump on my arm. So it was just extremely social and very friendly.
Oh,
So I called it Colonel because, Colonel
yeah.
Sanders. And now when I go to the garage and I see like spiders, I go to the pen and call her. She comes to the door. I let her out. She follows me into the garage. I pick her up, put her in the thing. I'll actually text you a video.
I
There
would
was
love
this
that.
spider that was probably that big, and we're like watching it, and she goes and it runs away, and it's like I'm like, ah. I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
See, chicken
no.
TV. It's great. I mean, they can be quite disruptive when you have a lot of them. They will get after your flowers or your flower beds or whatnot, but they're fascinating creatures. And I think a lot of people over the pandemic picked up them. We've had them, my boys have shown them at 4-H. And we I think in the summer we would get like a dozen eggs a day. We ate a lot of eggs. And my boys would just give them away. But anyway, chickens are fun.
Totally off the rails with this, but hey, it's a good conversation, right?
Yeah.
But I guess kind of in closing here, why do business with Brittany Ogden?
Well, I think if you do business with me, I am going to provide you with excellent service. I understand the issues, but I think going back to our conversation, I'm not going to tell my clients what they want to hear. I'm going to tell them what they need to hear. And I certainly understand their business and know what we need to get and where we need to go. But I'm going to provide the information and the analysis necessary to get you there and make really good reasoned decisions. The whole point of being with your client is to be a partner with your client. It's not
Sure.
about just telling them what they need to do and moving on. You really have to understand the context of there's the appropriate legal answer and then the appropriate business answer, and making sure those two are wedded so they get the absolute best practical business minded result in the end. And I think that would be all we can ask for when you have to resort to using an attorney.
I agree 100%. And thank you very much, Brittany. It was a pleasure. Thank you again for your time today.
Well,
And
thank
you know,
you.
hopefully our paths cross. You know, I'm assuming it probably won't be until an ELFA event, but
Probably, although you are out in Arizona, and maybe I'd have to just come up with a good excuse to in the winter time to go to our Arizona office. I am
it's
pretty
nice
sure
and
it's better.
nice and sunny. I mean,
It does look
it
sunny.
was it was it was it was 50 this morning, so it was a little cold.
Oh, that's unfortunate for you. So cold.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time, and we'll be speaking soon. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.